Hello and hi, I bid to my honorable lecturer Dr. Sabah Kumar. My name is Omar Azizuddin, and in this video, I would like to present about the future agriculture policy in the context of paddy industry. Next, Malaysia has focused its self-sufficiency policy on rice and paddy production, which are the country's primary staple food and food crops. Throughout the 11 Malaysian Plan 2016 and to 2020 and National Agro-Food Policy 2011 to 2020, Malaysia continues its proactive and progressive measures to promote paddy and rice sector development. The impacts of climate change, however, projected to worsen the challenges in increasing paddy yields and achieving food security in the future. Next, we go to the introductions. The Ministry of Agriculture and Agro-Based Industry introduced the National Agro-Food Policy (NAP4) in 2010 as a replacement to the National Agricultural Policy (NAP3). The blueprint sets a direction to transform the agricultural sector to become more dynamic, progressive, and sustainable. It addresses issues and challenges faced by every industry under agro-food sector, sets strategies and action plans. The National Agro Policy 4 covers a period between 2011 and 2020. The policy focuses on agro-food commodities in contrast with the previous national agricultural policies that combine the agro-food and agro-industry commodities such as oil palm, rubber, and cocoa. Let's see the self-sufficiency level target for paddy by National Agro Policy 4 in 2011 to 2020. So the sources from Ministry of Agriculture and Agro-Business 2016. So the target SSL level for paddy is 2015 71.4% and 2020 400% self-sufficiency level. This is the target. So as we can see in this year, the self-sufficiency level for paddy only achieved 70%. So it means that if NAP4 doesn't succeed and does not achieve the target for SSL paddy. In the slide, I would like to attach with a screenshot of an article that state the target of SSL by 2020 is 100%. So according in these articles, we can see that the Agriculture and Agro-Based Industry Ministry wants the country to achieve 100% self-sufficiency level SSL in paddy production by 2020. This statement is made by Minister Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri Yaakob during in 2015. So as we know, 2015 is the year of the initiation of National Agriculture Policy 4. So I think NAP4 do not achieve in the paddy sector and need to modify and improve for the next policy. So the impact from the NAP4. So the problem here is NAP4 do not be achieved for paddy sector. So it can be affected to the current SSL for paddy only achieved at 70%. So it does not sufficient to support the Malaysian people because only 70% that we need to depends on the import rice by 30%. So we must to change this policy and improve the production because there are increasing in food consumption in Malaysia. Okay, for the next problem is national closure and few obstacle to import rice during the coronavirus pandemic. So during this coronavirus pandemic taught us to look forward for the future policy. So we have been asked to intensify large scale of productions and reduce imports. So current SSL not enough to accommodate Malaysian people. So this is the problem from the previous national agriculture policies that could not be achieved. Next we go to the challenges to achieve the NAP succeed. Firstly, the changes of depreciation in ringgit Malaysia. So the depreciation of ringgit contributes to higher imported input price, leading to higher production costs and domestic food price. So the value of Malaysian ringgit has depreciated from RM to ringgit 40 cent when the policy was developed, policy of NAP4 developed, and then to depreciate to RM for ringgit 20 cents $1 in 2018. So as a result, the cost of buying inputs such as fertilizer, chemicals and machines from overseas has increased between 30% and 40%. So the competitiveness of Malaysian product also declined as compared to neighboring countries such as Thailand and Indonesia. The depreciation of Malaysian ringgit, however, increase the export of Malaysia agro-food produce as the price is relatively cheaper than when the value of Malaysian ringgit was high. So next, for the next challenges in succeeding NAP, is the changes in food consumption. So since NAP1, the changes in food consumption patterns resulted in changes in domestic food demand. So after economic crisis in 1997, there has been notable success in the Malaysian economy, where Malaysians are getting wealthier and food consumption is undergoing transitional changes, which is high. So what the demand for rice is in income elasticity, the demand for meat and prawns has increased in line with increase of income. So a high income will lead to higher demand for expensive products. So the consumption patterns will be increased. So it will give effect towards the paddy production. When the consumption increase, the production need to also be increased. But if the production is still same, it is hard for the self-sufficient level to achieve for Malaysian people. So this is one of the challenges by changes in food consumption by Malaysian people. So we need to put focus more to paddy industry to their production, because the food consumption increase by year. And then for the next challenges is a lack of youth involvement. So many youths are not properly informed about the various opportunities in this sector. They also associated agricultural ventures with unstable returns, and the youth receive agricultural entrepreneurship as being a high risk venture. So that's one of the reason for the lack of youth involvement in agriculture. So when the youth involvement actually is important to help the increasing in the production, because the energy or the energy that can use by youth is many energy. So youth can help in the productions drastically. So that's important. So that one of the challenges is lack of youth involvement. So according to the challenges for the NAP4, and then for the next policy that suggests by Ministry of Agriculture and Food Industry, MAFI, in a paddy sector by improve the previous policy or changes the previous policy by improve the current policy of paddy from policy 70-30 to 75-25, which is from 70 production, 70% production, 30% import, to 75 production to 25% imports. So which means that MAFI focuses on to increase the production from 70% to 75% of paddy in a few years, which is in the short terms production. So MAFI want to increase the production rise to 75% in a few years later. It's a focus to increase is because Malaysia being too comfortable with the 70% production, 30% import, because as we know, during this pandemics, it's hard for us to open the country to import the rice from outside of the country. So it may be one of the issues that need to handle by MAFI in order to secure the self-sufficient level of food security to Malaysian people, which is paddy. This is the most consumption by Malaysian people. So by changing this policy, it can help and reduce the burden that faced by paddy industry. So as for the recommendations or advice that I can be recommend to the government in their next policies, by firstly recommendation by provide subsidy. So it's because incentive and assistance that will be provided will also, among others, increase the competitiveness of paddy and rice production through increased productivity, quality, and efficiency, as well as alleviate their burden, especially in today's challenging economic conditions. So by provide subsidy, it can help the farmers and increase their spirit to increase the production and reduce their burden. So there's a recommendation once, and we go to the recommendation two, which is increase more land for paddies. This is because of the resource scarcity of paddy land. So land available for agriculture is becoming limited due to the competition for industrialization, urbanization, and expansion of residential areas, so that the need rises to maximize land productivity. So according to the past research, revealed that the reduction in paddy area are expected due to the conversion of the paddy area to other agriculture and agricultural activities. So the original SSL target cannot be maintained together with the increasing demand from growing population. So at the national level, the production of rice can only strictly accommodate 71.4% of their own domestic needs. So the government need have any incentive or strategy to increase more land paddy, or to prepare more land for paddy production, for paddy plantation, or for paddy sector. So this is my second recommendation: by increase more land for paddy to increase the production and make the NAP next policy success. Okay, for the last recommendation is by giving incentives to smallholders that want to start planting paddy. So this is one of initiative that can help the small farmers or smallholders to produce paddy and to increase the production of paddy. So that's all for my recommendations. I will pass to Hasif.
Okay, thank you Hazi Izzuddin for such a great presentation. Now, my name is Muhammad Hasif bin Muhammad Noor, and I will continue our group presentation with rubber industry in Malaysia. Now, as we can see from the slide, there are some infographic regarding our current performance of rubber production in our country. First point, which is in 2019, Malaysia was recorded as the fifth largest producer of the rubber industry in the world, and also third largest importer of natural rubber. Why this thing can happen? Even though our country are top 5 of main producer of the rubber, however, we also import natural rubber from our countries such as Thailand and Vietnam. The answer for that question is that our country still cannot fulfill the demand for the raw material of the rubber industry, so that our country still need to import natural rubber or fresh rubber from other country in order to fulfill the demand of the raw material that will be used to produce products such as tire and glove. Next, we will move to the next point, where, for your information, 90% of the producer of rubber in Malaysia are smallholder farmers. With that, smallholder farmer frequently will face many challenges in order to sustain or maintain their production in high value. So this is one of the main issue that happening in our rubber industry in Malaysia. Okay, for the last point of the infographic is, it is less improvement in the national commodity policy of Malaysia for the period 2011 till 2020. This is because most of the item in the policy only highlight what is the problem, but less in identify how to solve the problem for this rubber sector. Okay, now we will move to the issues that happening in the rubber sector of Malaysia. Our first highlighted issue is the low income of the smallholder farmers in the rubber sector. It is quite popular issue regarding the sector where most of the rubber tapper, especially the smallholder, are facing with low income problem where they only produce rubber just to support their daily expenses. As the result, with low income for recent year, the farmers are failed to improve or enhance their productivity either by increase the area of their farm or to use any new technology for their farm, which make that their income will still remain low for long term. Our next issue in the sector is increase of abundance of rubber farm. It is recorded by the Malaysian Reserve on 14 October 2019 that half of our rubber farm in Malaysia were left abandoned. Shahira Aznam Shah report that more than the half of the country's value 1.08 million hectares of areas planted with rubber tree were left abandoned due to the low price of this commodity. The next issue in the sector is the aging of farmers and high cost of replanting process. As we know that during the replanting process, the farmers may need to rent machinery or hire and outsource in order to clear their land and remove all the old tree. This is because the lifetime of the rubber tree is only 25 years, which make that with their low income problem, it is very hard for them to cover the cost to replanting. With that, the effect is the farmer will keep planting or fail to do the replanting process, and maybe they will left their farm abandoned or still tapping the old tree that will produce slightly lesser yield compared to the young tree. The next issue regarding this sector is the poor quality of rubber produce. The labor-intensive nature of rubber harvesting has also effect on the quality of raw rubber. Other than that, the cup lumps produced are exposed to the elements that bringing down the quality of the rubber produce. Our next issue for the sector is labor shortage, and lastly is one of the most famous problems or issue regarding the sector, which is the price fluctuation of the commodity. Now we will move to the recommendation part or suggested policy in order to improve the rubber industry in Malaysia. My first suggestion for this industry is establish new production model where involving more automation and technology in this sector. For example, make use the update technology that available in the market for this sector. Maybe it will cost a high cost, but in terms of efficiency and productivity of the farm, it will give a high effect for the rubber taper, especially the smallholder farmer. And it is not possible with the help by the government or any agency involved. It is not possible to apply this new production model for the sector in our country. The next recommendation is more research and development for this sector, where improve the recent variety of rubber tree, especially we need to produce with the biotechnology service to maybe to produce one variety that do not need to wait until 6 to 7 years for the rubber taper or farmers to start taping the rubber tree. With this, it will save more time and the farmers will have more time before the rubber tree to be reach the maturity age that need to be replanting. The third recommendation is to improve the scheme for the sector. Recently, two of the scheme that involved for the sector is the monsoon season aid and the rubber production intensive. So, in my opinion, I think that from the government need to restructure or reinvestigate the effectiveness of the scheme. This is because from giving the scheme, it is more effective when the government establish a subsidy system for these farmers. This is because the subsidy can cover their input cost. For example, the seedling and maybe the fertilizer cost. So with this, it can help the farmers to grow their rubber tree more effectively. Okay, the last recommendation is the design program to create awareness for the small scale farmers. For this point, this will involve the extension agency in Malaysia. For example, the extension agent are responsible in order to create the awareness by providing or organizing program that related to the new technology adoption for the rubber farmers. This is because from this program, it is more easy for the extension agent to deliver the information such as the advantage and disadvantage by using new technology for their farm, and also can give them more chances or time for them to ask directly to the extension agent. With this, the delivery of information to the small scale farmer, especially from the rural area, can be more succeed by providing many programs involving the extension agent and the small scale farmer. That's all from us. Thank you.